So I'm going to strongly advise you. You have a goal, you have a problem, doesn't matter. You're going to write a list. You're simply going to brainstorm and write your own list. But you always include the word other on your list. And then you start asking questions. Is the main reason for this problem on my list, yes or no? If you get a no, or let's say you get a yes and it points, the pendulum points to the word other, then you know you have to keep brainstorming as far as the main reason. But then you can say, is there anything on my list that would help me to resolve this issue? And if you get a yes, say, please indicate, and allow the pendulum to drag you to the word or the sentence you've written. And then get a percentage chart on a scale of 0 to 100. What is the positive value of me addressing this to resolve the issue? That's one way you can raise it. So you get a percentage, so you know where the things that are relevant that you should really address and how important they are. But that's not necessarily the order in which you should do it, because sometimes you need to start moving the energy with taking the things you can quickly lop off your to-do list and get the energy moving, and that may stimulate you then to, okay, now let's focus on where the real issue is. Okay, so you always ask questions. Now, I never believe in just whipping out a pendulum, and quite honestly, I don't know where in this bottom of the bag it is sung to. On anything serious, you really need to take the time to make sure you are connected to the earth, you're centered, and you're connected to source. Because if you're not connected to source, you're going to get screwy answers. If you are not anchored to the earth and connected to your power, any manifestation is going to do you no good. You're not going to be able to generate the energy to manifest anything. If you are not detached from the outcome, if you are unable to be aware of, I packed everything in the car. If you are not willing to look at your own weakness, oh, thank you, the weakness. You have another one for yourself? Okay, so let me show you. You can go to any book. This is my main dowsing book I wrote initially for my own hypnosis practice. I've been a hypnotherapist since 1989. I have 5 national awards, 3 lifetime achievement awards. Anyway, I've spoken at most conferences around the country for a long time because I'm an old lady. All right, and so I have lots of checklists: negative beliefs and judgments, self-sabotage, secondary gain, issues, all kinds of things. So is the reason for my client's issue anything in this book that can lead me to that? No. Well, I want a demonstration, please. Thank you. All right. So if it were, you go to a percentage chart, which you can also use as a page number chart. Okay. Give me the page number to help me with my client coming in at 2 o'clock. And so I'm getting a number. Okay. So I turn to that page number. I'm showing you shortcut techniques, right? Saves you a lot of time. Okay, on this page, yes. Okay, shadow issues, show me. You see how it's pulling me? Can you see that? And I'm just allowing to follow. And I'm saying, oh, it's pointing to something. I'm saying, are you saying this? Okay, so now I know something that I need to address. If it's with myself, with myself, and if it's with the client, with the client. So now I can either stop there and do the work for this, or just put it down and gather all the information for the day, and then start saying, okay, where do I need to start? So there's many ways to skin a cat, I think is the expression. You can address from the simplest to the most, to the major, from gathering the general information and then starting the process, or picking things off one at a time as you are directed. You have to heal the whole thing anyway, so it doesn't just start somewhere. Okay, now, so on any problem in, do you want me just to leave it here as I'm going back and forth? All right. As I said last night, if you have an issue, a problem, first of all, you want to label it. What is the issue? You might have more labels for it. It might be, in addition to betrayal, it could be dishonesty, it could be what the betrayal or the dishonesty now represents. It could be a loss of your business or a threat to your finances or something like that. So you write down what the issues are, because every factor, every issue that's related with that problem, and it can be a number of issues that are related to it, need to be addressed at some point in time. So let me give you an example. And there's different ways of approaching this too. I noticed that before, when I first started out being a national hypnosis presenter, that I would get hit with negative energy that I would label jealousy. I could feel jealousy. Sometimes I could almost feel this, I could just feel this in the energy. And lo and behold, the catalog would show up with my face in there of what I was presenting. And so obviously somebody got the catalog in advance and was saying, I could teach that class better than her. You know, that sort of thing. So there was an issue of jealousy. And I tried dealing with it when it came up, but it would happen again. And so finally I got smart and I said, okay, when was the first time I had an issue with jealousy? Oh, my sister Joan. And that was a big issue. She hated me. When I told her my husband had tried to kill me, she had no expression on her face, and she said, I always liked David. So that was my issue of jealousy. And by the way, she only came in, she died in 2002. And that's quite a story there. But she only came, her spirit came in only a couple of years ago, very briefly in the morning. Her spirit came up and said, I'm sorry. And then she was gone. It took her like 16 years. Anyway, so when I addressed the issue with my sister, I no longer experienced the negativity of jealousy around me. Now, people may still have been jealous, but I didn't have a receptor point. So please understand your weaknesses and it's like a lock and a key mechanism. This weakness is a hole that allows something to come in, and if it's in resonance, it locks in. If you don't have a receptor site, it can't come in. So it might be out there, but it's not affecting you. So this is why we have to clear all our trigger points. And when you have a problem, you can say, thank you for letting me know what needs to heal within myself. Because many times we think, oh, I got over it. That was years ago. Until something else happens, and then you know you didn't finish this process. Here's what happens. Many, many times we'll have a problem of such magnitude that when we are finally, seems like we're out of the woods, we just get on with life. We have to make up for lost time of what we didn't do because we were dealing with this major crisis or problem. And so we forget or don't take the time, even if we know what to do. So this happens so many times when a relative dies. We're dealing with their estate. We're having to, you know, do all the things you have to do when a loved one dies. And so have you done your grieving process? Have you really dealt with all the unfinished business of what you wanted to say to them, but you didn't have a chance? What you needed to heal regarding them, but you didn't have the chance. And so then something will come along that will bring to your attention, okay, you got to deal with this now. So be grateful when something comes to your attention of what you need to do. Say thank you. So one of the ways I've written, I work with Ho'oponopono because I can't do it just as the 4 sentences. I'm sorry for whatever is within me, my relatives, progeny, or ancestors in this or any other lifetime that caused or contributed to this situation, illness, problem, whatever. Please forgive me. Please forgive all of us. Please correct any erroneous thoughts in my consciousness and or our shared consciousness that is responsible in any way. I love you. Now, sometimes I can't say love you to the person or whatever, so I might say I love you, Roxanne, even though you're dealing with this. In other words, I'm sorry I didn't deal with this before with you. Thank you for bringing to my attention what needs to heal within myself. Thank you for bringing love, healing, harmony, and balance into this for the highest good of all. Thank you for healing any resonance with the problem within me and correcting any errors in my consciousness and humanity's shared consciousness. You see, that to me works for me. Okay, you can see it later, and the instructions are on the side. Now,
before you sit on that again.
thank you. Okay, so I have a guardian angel in the front row. So, being thorough, we'll start with preparation, as I said, grounding, centering, connecting. So, put your feet on the floor, and I want you to imagine either growing roots or that you have electrical plugs and plug into the planet. And as you're breathing in, you can do this with your eyes open or eyes closed. I want you to deliberately suck up energy from the earth because you are being supported here. Claim the ground you walked on and suck up that energy. So because you need that physical strength to do anything. So with every in-breath, pull it up until you feel tingling in your legs. Get it up at least that far. And then imagine that in the aura, you got a lot of dust or clutter or unclean stuff, and just be willing to shrink your attention into a narrow line. What is it you want to accomplish? That you are going to bring your focus of attention into a narrow line of what it is you want, and it goes straight through your body and then out the crown of your head. It's almost as if you could reach up and grab a hold of source energy and pull it down through your body, down through your head, down into your body, and actually it mixes with the energy from the earth and becomes this beautiful torus field of the higher harmonic of gold. And it's from that place, connected to heaven and earth, being in touch with your power, knowing you have a right to call upon all the beneficial forces of heaven for whatever you want to achieve in your life. You are here on purpose. You were chosen, directed to be here because you have your own unique gifts and talents. So you want to claim the ground you walk on, ask for assistance, and use that energy that is being offered to you, that is available to you. So as I was walking up here, I'm saying, I have something of value to offer. I have something of value to offer. That is a walking mantra. One of the ways you create an altered state, which we call hypnosis, is regular rhythm. So regular rhythm in your body and regular rhythm of your speech, and especially when they're matched. This is done in discos all the time. You have the lights whirling around, regular rhythm, right? You have the dancing to rhythm. And now you have the music, so you're deliberately being programmed by the words in that music. It is critical to monitor any auditory input when you are going into an altered state, which is not only when you're staring, when you're doing something boring or routine, when you're relaxing. So television is a major mind control instrument. So it's critical for you to censor what is in your auditory environment at those moments. All right, but you can deliberately create it by walking. So sooner or later I figure it out. Sooner or later I figure it out. Or I learn and move on. I learn and move on. I have something of value to offer. I have something of value to offer. Every day, in every way, I get better and better. Yes, every day. So we need ways of shifting. And one of the charts you can make for yourself are all the things that you can do to help yourself be in a good place. And the better, more frequently, and the ease with which you can get into that good place allows you to be more accurate in your dowsing. Now, one of the things of preparation is not only grounding, centering, and connecting, which is a given. And I have to say that many times, or shall I say sometimes, what you're dowsing about may trigger you. So you might have a thought, a fear that comes in. The moment the fear comes in, you're off center, and then you have to go back and get back on center before you continue to douse. Because if you're dousing on your hopes and your fears, you're going to have bullshit. And if you're not connected to source, there's a lot of spirits out there who want to answer your questions. It's like the Ouija board. So you want to learn to, by the fruit you shall know the tree, is my old Bible lessons, by the fruit. So how do you feel as you're dowsing? Stay alert to your gut. Are you feeling calm and centered? Do you feel an internal sense of rightness? Now let's do something really quick. Think about a time that you knew something was right for you, but nobody told you it was right. But you had an internal sense that something was right, and it later proved to be correct. How did you know it? Where did you feel it in your body? Okay. But you want to pay attention. That's your green light. So think of traffic lights. Green, yellow, red, green light. Now think about a time you knew something was wrong. It might have even been danger. It was definitely wrong, could have been even really danger. How did you know that in advance? And where did you feel it? Now, it can be different for different people, but you want to notice these signals. How did you know it? Where did you feel it? Now, there's a warning. That's a red light. That's a stop or railroad crossing or something like that. And then there is the, slow down. Don't go so fast. We got to examine this a little bit. So that is like a orange light, orange traffic light. Slow down. Look both ways. Take your time. Something's off, but it's not danger, but it's something off. You want to pay attention to those signals as you are dowsing. And you can also confirm it by things like writing a list or a chart. Timing is off. You need more information. And you can just brainstorm on and create. That's how these books get written, because the people writing the books are doing it just for themselves and the people to help the people around them. And you can always ask, is everything on this list or what I need to know? Now, I said last night that I wrote this 2-page on everything I was looking for in a relationship, and this man presented himself as everything. And I even showed him the list. It was funny. He presented himself and said he was everything on this list before he even saw the list, except he was a pathological liar. He had a PhD diploma on the wall in his home that was mail order. When we were separating, he stole my diplomas and put his name on it, that he had graduated from my hypnosis training program. So it was stuff like this. Then another time I was looking for a relationship. I had certain qualities I was focused on. And one thing on a list, you want to ask, what is the most important thing I should focus on? When you have a goal, there's things that you want, yes? But of those goals, some are negotiable, but some are must-have. That you have to have this or it's a no-go. And there are things you don't want. In fact, things you don't want help you to know what you do want. Of the things you don't want, some again you can put up with if the benefits are good enough on the other side. However, there are some that if they're there, it's non-negotiable. So if I wanted a relationship and I forgot to put down unavailable or heterosexual or drug and alcohol free, so there are things that for you are non-negotiable, and you have to remember to identify them. And because if it comes when I was looking for an office, I did it multiple ways. I took a map of the United States because in some ways I would be willing to move, perhaps. So where are the people that want and need my services and are willing to pay for them? Because willing to pay for them is one thing you want to have on your list. And so I had these circles of where that might be. Now, of where some of these circles were not areas I would consider for other reasons. So then I narrowed down to where I would be willing to consider. And then I wanted to know where the current people that were working with me were willing to travel to. Because there are things like invisible energy lines. So if you're in Manhattan, You don't want to cross over the Hudson River. There's just a psychological barrier. People from New York, Manhattan, do not cross the Hudson River. But people on the Jersey side go into Manhattan all the time. So who do you want to attract? So there are these psychological barriers where things like bridges are one of them. So then so I was able to narrow down on all the things I wanted. Now, one of the times I was in this office, and I loved being in this office. It was in the center of Montclair. And I had been there. I spent a lot of money on advertising. And I was thinking of moving into a bigger office. And real estate leases are more difficult to get out of. So you have to have more care in signing a real estate lease. And so I took a lot of time before I signed the lease. But sometime after I signed the lease, a situation developed in my building where the storefront owner moved out and a New Age bookstore came in, which sounds great, except he started duplicating all the classes I was doing upstairs, and he was telling people that I had moved out of the building and he was taking over my business. And they were doing black magic down there. My Reiki students, my Reiki master graduates, saw this black cloud, I did too, coming through the open door where we're doing a Reiki sharing. And some people got sick. And one of my graduates had been trained in the old Sicilian how to remove the evil eye, and she did it for all of us. But one of the children, the daughter of one of my graduates had to go to the hospital. So the thing is, what I forgot to have on my list was, even though that location that I went into that bigger office in the office building, and I renewed my lease for an extended period of time, would things change? What was the probability of things remaining positive for me? And when I went into meditation, how could you do this to me? Spirit said, at the time you were dowsing, I was thinking of doing this, that man had not yet made the decision to do what he did. So when you're dealing with you want to ask, as things stand now, what is the probability of this being or remaining positive or thing for me? In other words, is the change going to be a permanent, a long-term change, or is it going to be a stepping stone, or is it going to be a short-term change? Things are changing all the time. Now, if you don't like the outcome, if you follow Penny Kelly at all, she always says, if you don't like the predictions for the future, then you have to work to manifest a different future, which you may or may not be able to do, especially if you're just doing it alone. You want to gather a group together to make a more positive outlook. But that could come into your planning. So how likely is it to change? All right, now let me go to my notes for a moment. Where did I put it? That's not it. Oh, it is it. Okay, so on being thorough, what time do I need to stop here? I want to be able to pace myself. It's 9:30 now. What time do we have? 10:15. Okay. So there's three main components on being thorough. One is your mindset, making sure you're in the right mindset and staying there to get good information. The second thing is the questions. Not only the quality of questions, but enough questions. And the only way you can know if you have enough questions is know something about the subject. If I am thinking of being a water dowser, not only do I need to know how to operate rods and the basics, but I have to know the questions that any water dowser needs to know. Not to just find water, because I don't want to find a sewer line. And I want water that is beyond the cycle of rainfall or droughts. It has to be ongoing, clean water, free of any pollutants and all the rest. You can see Richard Roy there, and about water dowsing, because he is an expert. So learn something about the subject about which you're dowsing. So if it's a health issue, what are the typical ways that problem is dealt with? And then find all the alternative and ways that that problem is dealt with. All illness has a stress connection because your body has natural healing abilities. Why isn't it able to handle the problem? It's been weakened in some way, and it can be through mental, emotional stress. It can be through toxins, energy, negative energy, geopathic stress. There are many things that interfere. So if you have a health issue, start making a checklist. If you don't find checklists readily available, make your own. Start thinking about it. Are toxins something I need to investigate in order to heal? Yes or no? To what degree is this going to help me? Get a percentage. Then do a Google search on ways to detoxify. And as your finger is on the computer screen and your pendulum's in the other hand over a percentage chart, see where you're coming up with a high percentage rate or a significant percentage rate of what you need to address. And you can do this with any other aspect. So enough questions that cover all the factors involved, and then good questions. On the issue of questions, I'm going to tell you a couple funny problems. A client came in for weight loss, and of course exercise is always advocated. So I had a suggestion for him to repeat, the more I move, the better I feel. And he came in the next week and says, I'm moving and I feel great. And I didn't mean he was going to move his house or move his apartment. I meant he was going to physically move his body. Now, if you're loading and unloading boxes, I guess you're moving. But that was not what I meant. And I have always, for some reason, been very concerned about living near low water, like living on a coastline. If I'm high up on a cliff, it's one thing, but if I'm level with the ocean or waterway, I've always been uncomfortable. And I had a vision years ago. Anyway, so I told the realtor when I wanted to buy a house, I want to live a house on high ground. She had showed me two houses, High Street, West Orange, High Street, Glen Ridge, New Jersey. So it was not, you understand, you have to look at the literalness of your words. Could they only be understood in the way in which you mean them? And if you want a yes or a no question, you have to phrase it, there's no other, you can't be complicated. You ask more questions, but a simple question at a time. Unless you write everything you want down that you have to have, and then you say, for example, does this water source satisfy all the necessary criteria on my list? And then you can have multiple things. Or on a scale to 1 to 100, to what degree does this location meet my business needs? And then you see, is there anything that is really important this location does not have? And you can go over ads that way. And so that you don't go through every single location in an ad, you zero down what it is you want. So the questions are vital, as we all know. And then the third thing in being thorough is action. Now, taking action is twofold. It's energetic action and it's physical action. It's action to move forward, and it's also action to remove blocks. So let's say you want something. You have to make sure there's no resistance. So during one hypnosis exercise, a friend and colleague of mine had us imagine achieving some dream. So I wanted a big, beautiful house. Sounds good. I could imagine myself in this big, beautiful house. But as I'm imagining myself going through this big, beautiful house, the thought comes to me, who's going to clean it?
Yeah.
And I felt resistance because at one time, long ago, I was a servant and I didn't like it. Maybe I wanted to be the plantation owner, not the indentured servant. And so I had a real problem with having employees who were beneath me, in a servitude position. So then I had to argue with myself, well, I'm going to find somebody who loves what they do, who sees this as a way to feed their families, and I can help them and their families in this beautiful place. You see, I had to do a number job. So you want to see what is my resonance with my goal and what is my resistance to this goal. So there is something called self-sabotage. And you will sabotage yourself for a number of reasons. One is simple fear. Another is a feeling of unworthiness. Another is a feeling of need to punish yourself. Self-punishment is a big part of secondary gain. Now, what is secondary gain? Secondary gain is a benefit you get out of a problem. So your unconscious either creates it or sustains it because it sees the problem you have is solving another problem. So you're invited to a party by good friends of yours, and there are going to be a lot of people there that you like. But then you're informed your ex is going to be there, and now suddenly you have a headache and can't go. So the headache or the illness or the accident or the last minute things you had to take care of solve the problem of your stress over him being there and how you would feel, or your feeling, can I handle that? Do you follow? So we all have these problems that we create or are sabotaging our goals or our healing or our prosperity because we are afraid of letting go of it. We feel unsafe, perhaps, on letting go of it. So if I'm really wealthy, will somebody who's jealous try to take my property, as they are now, and try to steal my land? So I'm going to court on Wednesday. So these problems we have will, as I said, trigger stuff from the past. So think of, you have all these experiences you had for multiple lifetimes, and the experiences of your ancestors that are also encoded in your bodies. And all the experiences of your mother as you were in the womb and you were absorbing them through the umbilical cord. Something comes along that resonates with something that's inside, and all of a sudden the old file comes up to your attention. So it's new stuff, current stuff, that triggers all the stuff from the past. And now you're not dealing just with the present, you're dealing with all this garbage, and some of it may not even be yours. I mean, mankind has suffered all kinds of trauma, things like starvation, wars, storms, having to deal with jealousy of other people around you, outside of your tribe. So so now the action that you would be taking in order to be thorough is then to heal all those experiences, and you can do it below the level of conscious awareness, which is what I teach. I teach people how to, okay, here's how it goes. You identify the issue. You identify any of the characters you are aware of with this issue. You ask your unconscious mind to review everything related to that problem and to take action with the pendulum and let you know when it's done, which means it's spinning as it's looking for the root cause and all the other factors, and it stops or goes into the neutral position when it's done that. So then the next thing is find the positive learning from that first experience. You may have to go through multiple experiences. You don't have to know. You can ask, how many do I need to investigate? You may simply get a number, 1, 2, 5, whatever, or you may be able to bunch them all together. But if you need to do it individually on an unconscious level, you can simply ask. All right, so then you find the positive learning, which when I find it will allow me to clear the trauma. So you ask to find the positive learning. And now releasing the trauma can be done individually or can be done group. Again, it's something you can ask. I can't really teach you the whole process here, but I'm going to just give you some of the bullet points. Then, after you've found the positive learning, there's no further need for the trauma. Now, if you know the experience, and I'll give you an example shortly, you can do something that I've invented called rewind. What rewind is, if you had the opportunity to do it all over again, what would you do? And you imagine redoing it differently, and then you vividly imagine doing it 5 times. You want it enough so it becomes your default mechanism. So I'll give you an example. I'm coming to the last day in ASD convention. I'm on the highway. There's all kinds of noise. I have the windows open instead of my air conditioning, which doesn't work right. So the windows are open. I'm hearing all the noise of the traffic, and somebody calls me on my cell phone. And I pick up the cell phone, and I can't hear who it is, but I hear him say, "I'm happily married and I'm clean and sober." What does this have to do with me? I said, I can't hear you. I can't who you are. Send me a text message, and I'll respond when I get to a rest stop. I go to a rest stop, and not only is there a message, it's a recording. It's a guy I was engaged to in college. I broke the engagement for good reasons. And this incredible rage and hatred came up because I actually felt hatred to this guy who had threatened to kill me, I suppose. Is this getting to be a theme? I've been minced and diced multiple ways. And I thought, if I knew then what I know now, what would I have done differently? Well, there was the first instant of problem with him, he was insanely jealous. Insanely jealous. So he would stalk me he would be waiting at my car in the parking lot in college to make sure I wasn't walking down with some guy, that kind of stuff. He would call me on and off through the day at home to make sure I'm home and not out. But the first instance is he wanted me to go steady. We were driving the car, and he wanted me to go steady, and I said no. And with that, he shot up to 90 miles an hour, and he said, if you don't go steady with me, I'm going to kill us both. I was scared. I was also afraid to tell my parents. That was a mistake. I was afraid to tell them. And what I should have done is that as soon as I got home, not only to have told my parents and have told his parents, but have also said, I don't ever want to see you again. But I was scared. And that was a time, I'm 78, I was raised at a time when a woman needed a man. A woman had to be married to have children. I wanted to have children. A woman needed a man to be able to afford to buy a house because she had to be there to take care of the children. She couldn't support herself, and she was not socially acceptable. And if you had a woman having children out of marriage, you were a loose woman, okay? So all these things were part of my allowing this relationship to continue. He was brilliant. He was an engineer. He was genius level. And I loved his family. It was really the family that was the attraction. I absolutely adored his family. I wanted to be part of his family. But so what I did was I imagined calling him up and canceling it right then and there. And I did it again and again and again. And I regained my power. Because as long as I was thinking of, I was beating myself up, you see, for what I had not prevented that from going further. So I was abusing myself. I had lost my own self-esteem because I had allowed myself to be abused. So you can, in your mind, rerun a situation over and over to regain that. Now, what if you don't know what the situation is? You turn it over to your high self to take the wisdom that it says it's already gotten on a subconscious level and apply that and redo it in a much more empowered, constructive way. And to run it 5 times and let you know when it's done that. And you will still feel a shift. And you go through every significant event that Spirit says you need to run. Now, sometimes there are tricks to help you to trigger your memory. First of all, you can use an issue of charts. You can use charts to find the name of the issue. And there may be multiple issues involved with the same experience. That's one thing. You could write your own list of charts on issues. You can, if it's in this lifetime, you can get the age at which the problem occurred. In fact, you can go through all the ages of your life and get a percentage of positive and negative energy you're holding on any age. And you also want to just ask, am I projecting any negative energy for myself in the future? At what age? Because you will attach the ages at which your loved ones died or developed some terrible problem, sometimes for what you can expect for yourself. So if your father or mother died of a heart attack at a particular age, you can be setting up that problem or at least you're carrying fear for yourself for that particular age. You might get nervous when you get, Elvis Presley was doing this regarding his own mother's death. Okay, so you can do things energetically, but then you also have to do things physically. And if you know, you can take another list of things you need to do to move forward in real life. What physical action do you need to take, and the priorities and everything else, the order in which you need to do it. Yeah.
I did everything. I had my voice. I advocated for myself. I did all of that. So, but if I didn't have, as a child, when you're sitting in the
inner child, you did pass, age regression.
So would you go back then and somehow change what other people are doing? You don't.
Absolutely, because it may be incomplete.
Okay. But it's not limited to your.
No, not at all. Yeah, so I'll tell you something. I was aware that my mother wanted a boy. So even in the womb, I was aware I wasn't going to be good enough because I was female. My mother wanted a boy. And so in my imagination, I imagined myself as a young girl. So, and it went not just to the birth, but I was assigned all the boys' chores, and they called me Butch, or my mother did, okay? They called me Butch. So I was climbing trees. I was able to beat up the boys. And I did all the outside yard work. My sister did the cooking and the cleaning, okay? Maybe yard work was a better option. And I still don't like doing any cleaning. So I imagine myself as a young girl, and I went up to this younger self, and I said, put my arms around her, and I looked her in the eyes, and I told her how wonderful it was to be a girl, because you can grow up and you're going to get married, and you're going to have a son you absolutely adore. And I was telling her all the things about being the wonderful things about being female as a mother. And it really helped to shift how I felt. So you will, when you work on yourself, you know if it's doing anything. And you know when it's done because you don't have the problems you used to have. Life is easier. In the meantime, you just keep chipping away. Okay, so if there's resistance, you want to brainstorm on paper what the resistance might be and start addressing it. So next thing. So there are resources. I have some on the book. This has a ton of things, and you can douse out percentage of value. Here's another thing. I talk about there's a part of you that knows. Now, every one of us has access to incredible resources within. You can connect to the source of all that is. You can connect to nature spirits. You can connect to the spirits of the earth. You have incredible number of helpers out there, that you're never alone. And you can talk to this lady right here, Barbara. She can help you also with that, to connect to all those helpful spirits and to deal with the ones that aren't. So besides the detrimental energies you normally hear about, one of the energies is that of mass consciousness. So during this whole push to have everybody vaccinated, and I'm very anti-vax, do not feel good about this vaccine. A thought came in that I should get vaccinated. Where did that come from? That wasn't my thought. Where was it coming from? Do you know that thoughts and emotions can be broadcast? They come over the internet. They come over the cell phone towers. They come through the airways. You can project thoughts and emotions. You can do this to heal someone, but you can also do it to manipulate or control. So you want to clear mass consciousness if you sense something and something's not right. And you clear it within yourself, you clear your energy field, you clear your home, and then you can go out 1 mile, 5 miles, 10 miles, as far as you feel is appropriate. I've never made it to DC. But you want to clear this negative energy of manipulation and control so that you can make decisions that are in your own highest good. Now, go to my blog, Unlimited Potential Healing Center. The title of that is on my card, which is up here, or some was passed around. Who's got my box of? Oh, thank you. Okay, so there's an article that says dealing with detrimental mass consciousness. Another article is neutralizing the detrimental effect of mass consciousness. And another one is shifting mass consciousness. Okay, so you can just do a Google on that. Now, I mentioned another point of being thorough is building the energy so you can shift energy. Staying neutral, letting go of preconceived ideas or judgments, grounding, centering, connecting. Writing a comprehensive list of clear and specific questions, including the word other on all your lists. Checking that your list is complete and appropriate for whatever you're asking about. Is this complete? Checking for and clearing for trauma or karma, for both. If you've got karma, you also have trauma. All right. Clearing any blocks or resistance. Calibrating your alignment with what you say you want. Now, many times the person has a goal, but it's not truly their goal. Or they want it only if they don't have to do anything about it. So what is the degree that they are in alignment with their goal? Learning and clearing the root cause and relative factors, that's what I'm good at. Wording I mentioned. Avoiding words with double meaning, and I told you about that. Identifying and eliminating body talk. Now, this is particularly in illness. So that person makes me sick, or my job makes me sick. My back is killing me, for example. Looking up Louise Hay's connection of metaphysical meanings that are attached to particular illnesses. So I got shingles. Shingles is related to waiting for the next shoe to drop. And when did I get shingles? When the riots started right after Trump was elected the first time. And Soros was paying people to go out and riot and burn things down, and I thought we were going to civil war. There were other things that happened at the same time, but that was a big part. I was afraid for our country. Okay. Accessing internal wisdom. I want you to know you can access, download, and activate specific skills that you need from source, knowledge. You can access, download, and activate the blueprint for a perfectly healthy, vibrantly alive body or functioning liver or whatever it is. You need to calibrate and monitor your results over time. You want to clear stuck energy with any person. So if you have an issue with this person, you want to know, did I have any other problems with this person before? How many lifetimes? Is there karma involved? And make sure you clear the issues you have with that soul throughout all of time. And make sure that you clear any stuff that either one of you had put out into the future. Now, going back to my former fiance, I had broken the link between he and I years ago, but he reattached. And I was never able to really have a significant relationship. And I'm wondering if his ties to me throughout the years, regardless of him being, because periodically he would try calling and trying to recontact me even after he was married. So you have to see that they have not reattached to you or tried to tap into your energy field. Now, so when I have a client, I ask, I'm looking for mental and emotional energy drains. I'm looking for internal conflicts, secondary gain, need or purpose for a problem, fears, blocks or resistance to resolution and goal achievement. What else? I have a list of exercise, of questions you can ask yourself, and this will be in the handout if you gave me your email. Here's something that you can do. You can simply draw a straight line and a horizontal. Before the problem, after the problem. Before I had a problem, this was happening. After I had the problem, this was happening. Before the problem, this was not happening. After the problem, this was not happening. So, a woman comes to me and she has cancer. It's serious. Before you had cancer, what was happening? I was working in my husband's construction business. How did you feel about it? I hated it. Now that you have cancer, what's happening? Well, I'm not going to the office anymore. Before you had cancer, what else was happening? Well, my kids were putting on a lot of demands. After you had cancer, what's happening? Well, my kids, all I have to say is that I don't feel well. My kids immediately back off. Before you had cancer, what was not happening? What was it that you wanted to do? I want to be a ballet dancer. Now that you have cancer, what is happening? Well, now I stay in bed as long as I like, and I read books and things I enjoy, and what would you like to do? I had to give her a positive future. Well, I'd really like to go to the Southwest and do some camping or whatever. Okay, when can you go? So we'll start building an image of a positive future. So if you do not have a reason to live, as Leonard Orr says, to the father of rebirthing, there is a death wish that each organism has. And when the death wish is stronger than the will to live, the body follows. So you have to, if you want to be healthy, you have to deal with all your depression and your grief and everything that's draining your life force. And you have to build the things that enliven you. You have to pay attention to those things that feed your spirit, which includes networking and support. That's what we have learned through COVID, how vital this is for us. And look at all the people that committed suicide precisely because they lost their support, because they lost the ability to do those things that meant going out and being part of life. They couldn't do it anymore. And so they killed themselves. We cannot ignore that. All right, so do we have any questions here?
You mentioned on seeing this page that you were looking at on the handout about achieving a goal. If you have a big goal and you don't know how to do it, what would be some of the doubts and steps?
You were just learning about people who have achieved that goal in the past to get some basic ideas. What do other people do if they're interested in doing that? And then going about it. So, for example, I wanted to be a classical singer. So when I hit New York, I went up to the stage door of the Metropolitan Opera House and I said, I want a job at the Metropolitan Opera House. I was willing to clean the floors, right? So the lady on personnel says, do you have shorthand? And I said, no. Click. So the question was, how can I get shorthand quick? Well, I couldn't get shorthand quick enough, but I could get speed writing. So I took a summer speed writing course, and every employment agency said, find me a job at the Metropolitan Opera House. Find me a job at the Metropolitan House. I was hired to be the orchestra manager's executive secretary. I had listening to all the rehearsals. I'm going up to the conductors. I'm going up to the big time singers, Justino Diaz. I have lessons with Maureen Forster. I have lessons with Fiorentina. I'm there with Pavarotti and all these famous people. I'm listening. I'm going to all the performances free. My family's getting free dress rehearsal tickets. And I have this background. I later sang on the stage of the Met, but with another group as part of a major ballet company, because I sang with Joffrey Ballet, Netherlands Ballet, New York City Ballet. But my main thing was being in the chorus at New York City Opera for 10 years. So you see how I started asking questions, and I had an intention, and I kept asking questions. And then you start, okay, think of Schuler's 10 list, how you can get that settled, and you douse out. Well, thank you for being here. I'm going to go over to my vending table. It's the one with the yellow cloth. If you have more questions, you can come over there. I hope this was helpful. You can call me.